Good morning, everyone. We are back for Saturday, and yes, we're back to the morning. I posted a very late message on my page yesterday to the effect that mornings actually turn out to work better for me. So sorry about the flip-flopping. This is taking a little while to kind of work it into. Who am I kidding? It's taking a while to make any kind of a routine these days because I don't know what day it is or which way is up. So, anyways, Giant Dog would like to say hello, and then he's going to get his treat. You say good morning. Hey, you say good morning. You say good puppy. Okay, you ready? You're going to get your treat. Ready? There you go. Okay, off. Out. So there. Giant Dog has his treat. We are pretty much ready to go, so we will get started and save a little bit of the chat for the end today. So chapter 17. The last of the dishwater, I was going to say dishwasher, and that did not make sense. The last of the dishwater disappeared down the drain, leaving only soapsuds in its wake. Turning on the tap to rinse them away, Gareth looked over to the sitting room, where Gwyn, Maggie, and Nicholas had nestled together for a story after dinner. Exhaustion had claimed the trio about an hour ago, and they all slept soundly, oblivious to his rattlings in the kitchen. He turned off the water again, shaking his head at the sheer domesticity of the whole situation. If anyone had told him a week ago he'd be helping with dishes and plumbing and sick kids, he would have laughed outright at both messenger and idea. So how did something that should have been ludicrous turn out to feel so right? A noise from the sitting room drew his attention, and he glanced over to see Nicholas squirm in his sleep. Without waking, Gwyn reached for the little boy, drawing him further into her warmth, and he relaxed once more. A hollow formed beneath Gareth's ribcage. He really had missed out, hadn't he? He'd suspected it all along, of course. Hell, he'd regretted handing over Amy to Catherine almost before the ink had dried, but he'd never had it driven home like this. Never really stopped or dared to think about the 1,000 little things he'd missed sharing with his daughter, the stories, the hugs, the fleeting moments of innocence and trust. His mouth tightened. He'd been such an idiot. He draped the dishcloth over the faucet and wiped his hands against the seat of his jeans. Enough. Katie had gone upstairs to put on pajamas and brush her teeth, so he had time to phone Sean. He wasn't holding his breath that Catherine would have called with anything but more complaints, but hey, miracles happened. His cousin answered on the 5th ring. Yep. Did I interrupt something? He didn't think Bunny looked the type to stick around this long, but you never knew. No, I just got tired of running for the telephone so I could pretend to be your answering service. Ah, I take it Catherine called, then? I've been writing sticky messages on sticky notes. Another 100 or so, and I'm thinking I'll have enough to wallpaper the living room. Gareth pinched the bridge of his nose, closing his eyes. Should I apologize? Sean sighed. Nah, it's not your fault. But for your sake, I sure as hell hope Amy doesn't turn out to be a case of like mother, like daughter. Oh, and before I forget, Angela called again, too. She said it was urgent. You keeping secrets, cuz? Now that you mention it, yes, but Angela's not one of them. She's my agent. She thinks everything is urgent. She left a number. I have it, thanks. What about Catherine? What was the message from her? Let's see. Call me. Tell him I called. Call me. Why hasn't he called me? Call me as soon as possible. Do you want me to continue? No, that's okay. I think I've got the message. No pun intended, right? Tell me again why I can't give her your cell number? Gareth looked into the sitting room at the peaceful, slumbering trio. Because that part of my life doesn't belong here, he thought. Because I haven't decided yet if I belong here. Because Gwyn deserves better from me than to drag Catherine into her home. Because I asked you not to, he said. A pause. Then Sean drawled. Right. So how is she, anyway? Who? The one you can't tell about Catherine and Amy. Gwen, or Gwyn, or whatever. Gwyn, Gareth said. And she's fine. She's sleeping right now. 2 of her kids are down with chicken pox, and she didn't have a very good night. Silence. 2 of her kids have chicken pox, and so you're just there helping out, Sean finally replied. Is that so hard to believe? On your holiday. It's not really a holiday, and until Amy gets back, there's not a lot else for me to do anyway. So you thought you'd step in and play daddy to someone else's kids for a few days for what? Fun? Gareth paused in polishing his fingerprints from the chrome faucet. Annoyance stirred in him. It's not like that, his cousin grunted. Uh-huh. And I suppose when Amy gets back and you have something to fill your time, you're just going to walk away, right? Her kids are sick and she can use a hand. Is that a crime? That depends on whether or not they're used to having strange men walk in and out of their lives, Sean observed. A hard note underlined his voice, born of personal experience. Sean hadn't spent his childhood summers with Gareth's family in England because of a warm, sunny childhood here. With divorced parents and a mother who had been rather free with her friendships, those few brief weeks every summer had been the only stability in his cousin's life for years. I haven't asked, he said. Don't you think you should? With the amount of time you're spending at that house, like every waking hour, someone's going to get attached to you pretty soon, or you to them. I'm a big boy, Sean. I think I know the risks. Then you're a bloody fool, because you have no idea what the risks are. What the hell is it that's so attractive about this woman, anyway? 1,000 things. Everything. Gareth cleared his throat. She's pretty. Make that beautiful. So are a million other women. She's smart, she's sweet, and sexy as hell. I repeat, so are a million other women, Sean growled. She's not like a million other women, Sean. She's different. Sean snorted. Gareth pulled his gaze from Gwyn and scowled at the phone. His cousin's rocky childhood excuse only went so far. Are you trying to irritate me? He demanded. Because if so, you're succeeding. I'm trying to get you to see reason, Sean said wearily. You want to hear my theory on what you find so attractive about her? Gareth had strong ideas regarding what Sean should do with his theory, but a tug on his shirt sleeve distracted him before he could speak them. Gareth? A sad little voice asked. Gareth glanced down, took one look at Katie's tear-stained face, and promptly hung up on both cousin and theory. He crouched down to the little girl's level, taking her hand in his. Katie, sweetheart, what's wrong? Will Maggie and Nicholas be finished their chicken pox tomorrow? He hid a smile. I don't think so, love. Why? Her head drooped and fresh tears flowed in the wake of the others. Nothing. Gareth circled her tiny waist with his hands, straightened up and lifted her onto the stool beside the island counter. It must be something, he said. People don't cry for nothing. He plucked a tissue from the box on top of the refrigerator and dried her tears. If you tell me, maybe I can help. Katie snuffled. It's job day tomorrow. He tried, but drew a blank. Job day? He asked. Mummy's supposed to come and tell my class about her job. All the other parents are going to be there. Ah, of course. Well, maybe Mummy can come another day, he suggested. Maggie and Nicholas will only be sick for a few more days, and he trailed off as fresh tears flooded Katie's eyes. But tomorrow's the only day, she wailed. Madame Morin won't let her come another day. Gareth heard Gwyn stir in the sitting room. Hastily he lifted Katie down and steered her out of the kitchen, grabbing the tissue box on his way. When they reached the stairs at the other end of the hallway, far enough not to wake the others, he settled Katie on the small landing and himself a step below her. Right, he said. Now we can talk. Are you sure tomorrow's the only day? Maybe Madame Morin will make an exception for Mummy if she knows. Katie shook her head. She said that if the mummies and daddies couldn't come tomorrow, then they'd have to come next year. But it's already next year, and Mummy promised. It's already next year? Was Mummy supposed to come to job day last year? He hazarded. Katie gave a miserable nod. Her chin quivered. Maggie was sick last year, too, and Mummy said this year she'd come. She promised. Yes, he'd gotten that. Gareth propped his chin in one hand, his elbow resting on his knee, and regarded the distraught little girl. He racked his brain for a solution. Could someone else come instead, he suggested. What about Auntie Sandy? She came last year. Katy buried her face against her knees, the epitome of abject misery. Her small frame shook with sobs. Mummy promised, came the repeated mumble. Gareth patted the little girl's back. He could think of few occasions when he'd felt more helpless. He considered offering to look after the twins while Gwyn went to the school, but he somehow didn't think any of them would take to that idea at this stage of illness. Someone else, then. What about... Katy's head lifted. Could you come? She asked. Gareth's mouth flapped. He stared into blue eyes identical to her mother's, swimming in a sea of tears. Hope stared back. So did innocent trust. He held back a sigh. He couldn't go, of course. A visit to a classroom hardly fell into the low-profile category demanded by Catherine or promised to Amy. Mindful of his young companion's fragility, he formed his refusal with great care. He might even have uttered it if Katy's soft, sweet voice hadn't added, "Please?" The words stopped him in his tracks. He stared down at the little girl, thinking of how she had cried herself to sleep all those nights over a missing father, of how hard Gwyn had worked to comfort her, be there for her, heal her. He thought of how he himself had been an absentee father, theoretically causing the same havoc in his own child's life. His jaw tightened. No more. He had it within his grasp to begin making amends. Here. Now. Catherine and the media be hanged. As for Amy, well, surely she would understand. Reaching out to ruffle Katy's blonde head, he smiled. I would be honored to come, he said. Don't you love Gareth? I love Gareth. He's just so cool. So anyway, that was the end of chapter 17 today. We have our sunshine back. I am so happy. We are heading out for a couple of errands today. We're doing curbside pickups from the hardware store, a couple of things that I need for doing stuff around the house. Apart from that, pretty much the same old, same old. Ooh, the really exciting thing, we're going to go through the A&W drive-thru today and get hamburgers and french fries. It's been a really long time since we did that, and we will be gloved and masked and tip generously to the poor souls that are doing this for us and staying, keeping us fed. It's so appreciated. So to all of you, and I've been meaning to say this for a while, to all of you who happen to be working in any kind of the supply chain or the healthcare or anywhere that's keeping this world of ours ticking along, even in its faltering fashion, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. You guys are doing just incredible work, and you are really, really appreciated. So just wanted to put that out there. And yeah, that's it for today. I will be back 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And if you are following along with my Sins of the Angels reading on my Lydia Hawk Books page here on Facebook, that will be happening shortly. I've moved it up a little bit. We're going to be doing that at 8:30, which is just enough time for me to go and grab myself a coffee. And yeah, so I guess see you tomorrow. Take care. Stay safe. I hope you guys are staying home for the Easter weekend. I really do. Virtual. It's all about the virtual now. So video chat with everybody you know and hunker down and, find a good book. Good books are our salvation right now. Take care. Bye.